Welcome to the Creative Play and Podcast Network. Join us as we share our favorite RPGs, one-shot games, tabletop games, reviews, and convention panels. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Hi, this is Kelly, aka Trixie from Ragnarok and Roll, assigned to Ragnarok Story, and Tilda Wimblewick from D&D Journey of the 5th Edition. First off, I would just like to say thank you to everyone for listening to our varied adventures, as well as for rating us on iTunes and rpgpodcast.com. If you haven't rated us yet, we would greatly appreciate it if you could. And if you're looking for more ways to support our efforts, we are now on Patreon, a great site where you can help us continue making more podcasts, as well as some special surprises for our patrons. If you can, please look us up at www.patreon.com/cppn. Every little bit helps. And again, thank you for listening.
Hey, beautiful people who are here with us this morning for the last day of TusCon 51.
Yay!
We've had quite the action-packed weekend. I am Madame Askew, and I have been here all weekend with the amazing humans of the Rhoynish Turtle Conservation Society, or as I like to think of them, the best little feminist collective in geekdom. So great. And today we're going to talk about Doctor Who, but not just any doctor, the current doctor, because he's the doctor, baby. So, Ashley, would you like to introduce yourself?
I would love to. My name is Ashley. I am part of the Rhoynish Turtle Conservation Society collective. I've also been here all weekend. I love it. I love being around my friends and my people. I'm also ready to go home. Oh,
That's legit. I'm Tanya, and I'm part of the Rhoynish Turtle Conservation Society, and been here all weekend. We've had a lot of fun, but yeah, home sounds nice. And I'm very excited to talk about the most recent iteration of Doctor Who.
I am Charity, also known as Auntie Histamine. I crashed this panel and became on the panel because I am a super Whovian. And I said so, because it's the Doctor, and our entire bathroom is decorated in Doctor Who, and I have many, many Doctor Who things in our living room, only because I haven't unpacked the rest of them.
I love that this is the second of our panels that Charity's like, I really like that. I'm going to be on that panel.
That's what I do.
She just joined us.
And we're like, all right.
This is what happens when you're a feminist collective.
Yeah,
We're like, okay.
Come on in.
Yeah. So, who is this Doctor Who?
One thing I will say that I thought was interesting about Ncuti is how you pronounce his name, Ncuti Gatwa. He is Rwandan and Scottish. He's Rwandan and Scottish. One of my partner's children, his girlfriend is also Rwandan, and so she has never been a Doctor Who fan. And when she heard his name, she was like, he's Rwandan. And she was so excited. And she told me his name actually means friend in Rwandan.
Oh, that tracks. That is perfect.
I was like, that is absolutely perfect. So it's a fun factoid about
that is so cool.
this doctor.
Oh my gosh.
Also, fun fact about Ncuti Gatwa's name. He had been mispronouncing his own name for decades.
Uh-huh.
And he did an interview, and people were like, well, how do you pronounce your name? In one of the Doctor Who interviews. And he says, oh, it's Ncuti Gatwa. And then his mother called him and said, your name is not Ncuti, it's Ncuti. I did not put that letter there for nothing.
Oh my god.
And yelled at him, and then he went back and did an apology to his mother interview and says, I am so sorry, Mama. It was so touching and so beautiful.
But when
so
he
cute.
first became the doctor, he was pronouncing it as Ncuti, and so
Yeah,
there's a
that's
lot
what
of
I've been
people
saying
that
it the whole
still
time.
think his name is Ncuti because they missed that
Wow.
part of it. But yeah, he's been mispronouncing his own name for this whole time.
Yeah. And I love this sort of moment because it's not just a Doctor Who moment, it's a very human moment, and it's a wonderful, like, it's a teachable moment, but it's also kind of in that Who world, Whovian sort of ethos of like, yeah, we can make mistakes and we can learn and I can take my own thing and I can like help everybody be a better person because I'm the doctor, baby.
Yes.
So it's really important, right, to like say people's names right.
Yes.
And to take that time. And like I've seen some fans who are like, I can't possibly, how could I ever? And like fans, friends, my darlings, you can say lots of things. Mm-hmm. It just takes a little practice when you're unfamiliar.
Yeah.
And like if you can, me myself was like, if you can say Tchaikovsky, you can say Ncuti Gatwa, and that's correct. You can do it. Mm-hmm. Do it.
Yeah.
I have faith in you.
One thing I thought that's also interesting is Peter Capaldi, after Ncuti was chosen, it was just so. I always love it whenever like a new doctor is chosen, like the blue smoke rises from the BBC and a new doctor is chosen. But after Ncuti was chosen, of course, then like everybody talks about it. And Capaldi said something about I should have pulled the quote before the panel, but it was along the lines of how he thinks that it's absolutely perfect that someone who is from, like their family is from Rwanda and Scotland is like, someone who's from all these places and has all these things about him is the new doctor. He's like, it's just great. It's perfect.
Yeah. He's wonderful. Yeah. No, and so I was really excited because I'd seen him first on Sex Education, and he steals every scene he's in the best possible way. He's just like such a tremendous force on that show, and he's so young. He's a fairly young actor, and I just remember watching him on that show and being like, how are you so gifted as a performer? How do you bring so much depth at your age and life experience to have this kind of nuance and subtlety with such a complicated character in like a really wonderful, entertaining show that's also dealing with a lot of complex issues? So when he was cast, I was like, oh man, I already love Doctor Who, but now it's my whole personality.
Yeah.
And I love him when you're saying that it's a very complex character. He's a very gifted actor because the more iterations or regenerations, the more regenerations he has, the more complex that character gets, right? Yeah. So when you've got the first Doctors, first of all, I can't imagine when the first Doctor regenerated, how people reacted. Because we all know at the end of the Doctor's run, they're going to regenerate. Mm-hmm. They didn't know that, so when he started to light up and, I can't imagine how people watching it felt. But, by the time you got to the second, third Doctors, things like that, that they had all of those lives within them. But the further in you get, it actually becomes canon and it's lore. So he has to incorporate all of that into everything he does, which I think that's just got to take such talent.
Yeah, and like grace as a performer.
Yes,
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So we're kind of riffing on a little bit like what we love about Ncuti as a choice for this character and what he's bringing to the table, but also like we're all Who fans of long standing, and we bring our own history with the show and our own perspective. And so like we talked about how we're all fans, but I'm curious, like, what is the thing? What is the hook for you? What is like that essential thing that makes you love Doctor Who?
For me, the reason that I love Doctor Who is because it does deal with all of the super complicated, violently traumatic things that are happening in and around our world and in outer space. And it does it in a fun and lighthearted way most of the time, but when it goes dark, it goes dark. Mm-hmm. And it makes me so happy because, as I've previously stated in other things, I enjoy hyperviolence and murder in a lot of my shows. But the Doctor does not murder anyone.
Not usually.
But he will put them in eternal prison for unending suffering. And he's done it repeatedly. And it's always when they hurt children and other people for no good reason. You wanted to cosplay? Seriously? Burn forever! And no, you will not survive. And it made me so happy. I was like, oh, that's a little bit of the old style vengeance. Ooh, that's sexy.
Here for the vengeance, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which when they're bringing back from the newest season, old, like, beginning lore monsters and villains, like the Toy Maker and Maestro and all that. It's like they can bring back joy and monsters. Oh, my life is good again. We can have all of the nostalgia while moving forward.
Yeah.
So happy.
Yeah. I think, like, my actual first Doctor was 9. Because there was a period whenever, like in the mid-2000s, where Doctor Who, when it was I'll just say regenerated.
Yeah, I love
on the
that.
Sci-Fi Channel. And for a while we had Sci-Fi, and I was like, oh, what's this? And my husband and a friend both had, like, you know, Tom Baker was kind of their guy from PBS. But we watched Doctor Who together, and I think the moment that I really fell in love with it, because I also loved that there's just this wacky time-traveling alien who's moving through the world. Everything is like, go, go, go. And then you get these glimpses of trauma he's had, and the first time they encounter the Daleks. And he's just like, Eccleston does angry really good.
Yeah.
And he's basically like talking to this Dalek, and he's just like, I burned you. But then later, you get that, and like, whenever they like save London, and he just looks at Rose with his face, and he's like, everybody lived, Rose, just this once. Everyone lived. And I'm like, yeah, I love Doctor Who now.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand that they regenerated. So when that series ended, and like all this stuff happens, and like orange light starts shooting out of the Ninth Doctor, I'm like, what's going on? Why did he turn into that guy from the Harry Potter movie? And my husband and our friend were like, he regenerated. And I'm like, what do you mean he regenerated? And they're like, you didn't know? I'm like, no. And they kind of was like this, oh, sorry.
One of those, oh, maybe I thought you knew.
Right. And then I just kind of like, and it's kind of a joke in the Doctor Who fandom that there's like the life cycle of a Doctor Who fan. It's like, new Doctor is chosen. Oh, who's this guy? Well, I guess they're okay. Oh, I love this Doctor. Oh no, the Doctor's regenerating. And then it starts over.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. My first Doctor was also Eccleston.
Nice.
Yes, so.
Aww.
Yeah.
Hashtag never skip 9.
Never skip 9.
Never skip 9.
He's so, like, he brings his own thing to the Doctor, just like every other Doctor does. And he does angry really well, like you said. So that was my first Doctor. I love, through watching only the new Doctors, I haven't gone back and watched the classic. I know Tom Baker, obviously, but haven't watched the old ones yet. The fact that he's seen and done so much through all of time and space, and he is able to still look at the individual lives and how he's affecting people. And I think that has to take so much, the feelings that he has to have all the time. No wonder he regenerates. He has to just get it all out.
I think that is the main reason why Gallifreyans have 2 hearts. One to keep their body going, and one to support
constantly.
all of their emotions and break while the other one's
I
still
like
pumping.
That's good headcanon.
I really like that.
It's been my headcanon since I was like 4.
Yeah, I like it. Because he's able to look at the big picture and hold space for that, but also really focus on the minutia and the individual lives that he's meeting and impacting constantly. Like when I just rewatched Boom, which is an episode from the new series we're going to talk about. One of the things he says is he's just like, oh, I forgot you've never been on another planet. And so when Ruby was looking up at the sky and seeing all of the other planets and everything, and she was just like frozen with just how awesome it was. And the fact that he can still appreciate that with her. He forgot for a second, understandable based on what they were going through. But the fact that he can still appreciate that with her, I thought that was a really cool moment.
Oh my God, such a beautiful moment.
One little thing. The thing you said about seeing everybody as individuals, there's a quote that I love, and I can't remember if it's the 10th Doctor or if it's the 11th.
It's the 11th.
900 years of time and space, and I never met anybody who wasn't important.
Yeah, I love that.
It's so hopeful.
It really is. It is a quote that it's kind of like, well, in when I find myself in times of trouble, the 11th Doctor speaks to me kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's a really good, like, uplifting thing.
That's so beautiful. Yeah, I think especially in this moment, for so many reasons, it's wonderful to have like some hope punk kind of science fiction, and Doctor Who has been embodying that space for a long time. Like even when things are bad and the world is sometimes literally on fire in that show, the Doctor is still trying to move forward for solutions. He doesn't give up. They don't give up. They're very tenacious. And they believe that there's a possibility for things to be better and for there to be a solution, which definitely speaks to me and has had an impact. Like I'm a Star Trek imprinted person, and that is very much rooted in that space. I know.
That's like my combat.
Right. But my grandfather and I used to watch Doctor Who together on PBS when I was like knee high to a grasshopper, and so I've been watching Doctor Who since I was like 4 or 5. And my grandfather was very special to me. My grandparents raised me, and my grandfather was the original geek in my life, and so he introduced me to all that thing. Like we watched Monty Python, Doctor Who, Battlestar Galactica, and Star Trek together. And like, if you know me, I just told you my personality.
Like that makes a lot of sense.
Actually, yes.
Hello, that is me. And so like I know I saw a doctor before Baker, but I was so little I don't really remember that one. Tom Baker is the first one I remember. And I just, when I was like I was like, this is just a cool, weird show with like weird shit happening, and the adults are running around and they're cool like aliens, and it's just cool and fun, and I like it. My grandfather's really into it. But when I started again with Eccleston, I was like, shit, man, this show has so much depth and heart. There's a lot going on here. I definitely missed a lot when I was like 6. So I think I have this like nostalgia for it from my childhood, but my true fandom, like that sort of intellectual understanding of the relevance of the show, that develops with Eccleston, and like he deserves more love than he gets. So I'm here for like never skip 9. That's so good.
Yeah.
That kind of, like, that actually became a thing, because when David Tennant became the Doctor, he became so beloved.
Yeah.
I mean, and rightly so. David Tennant's excellent at being the Doctor. But there became this, like, weird little, like, faction.
Like you had to pick.
You had to pick. And then there were this group of people, and I will say it seemed to be primarily women and like younger women who were like all about David Tennant, nobody else. And when Matt Smith came along, it was like, well, I guess him too. But there actually were people out there who were telling people, oh, if you want to watch Doctor Who, just start with David Tennant.
Yeah.
And so like legit, there was this kind of like almost like a movement online where people were like, no, never skip 9.
Skip
Yeah.
9.
Yeah.
If
And
you
like,
don't understand the past, you cannot go forward.
right.
And it's been on for 61 years. You cannot
Right.
skip the entire past. At least go to 2005.
Yeah, it's not that hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really kind of strange. And so like I started posting about it because it was really annoying me, because they were kind of, oh, but he's old. It's like, stop.
So am I.
And
He's
just,
like thousands
just
of
stop.
years old, first of all.
Exactly. Like, do you know how, like, Matt Smith said he was 900 years old, so calm down.
And it's not even linear. So he's been around for all of everything. All
Yeah.
time. And when you mentioned Tennant being good at being the Doctor, it's like, well, he was so good at being the Doctor that they brought him back for the first time to have a second generation. So
Yeah.
that was really interesting in the anniversary specials when they were having that come back. I was like, they're what? I mean,
Yeah,
it was,
You can't bring back a Doctor, but they had already said that it was okay in canon because Capaldi's Doctor used the face of a merchant in
From Pompeii.
From Pompeii.
Yeah, yep.
That was an episode seasons and seasons before.
Yeah.
But,
And-
I must
and
have
one
needed
of-
something from this face. And that was a line in the show. So now what am I going to learn from this? And then it's Capaldi, and he has such a beautiful arc.
Yeah. And there
But then
was...
when Tennant comes back, it's like, oh, this is still in the realm. They thought about that. Oh.
There was also foreshadowing in the 50th because Matt Smith is in this museum and Tom Baker's the museum curator.
Mm-hmm.
And they're looking at this painting, and I think the painting was like a thing about Gallifrey.
Yeah, it was Gallifrey to Bubble.
And so he's talking to him, and he's being like this, like, you know, one of these like cryptic,
Yeah.
The cryptic
like,
wise
like-
old man.
right? The cryptic, eccentric, wise old man, and he makes some comment about, "Oh, you'll see a face again," or some like weird cryptic shit, and Matt Smith's kind of like, "Oh, all right."
Okay.
And then it's like, you know, Jodie's last episode, the TARDIS door opens and it's David Tennant, and he's like,
What? And did not say, still not a ginger.
Right. But it's like, why this face? Why this incarnation? Like, why did they bring him back? You know,
Like-
so that was
like
an
he
interesting-
has like unfinished business.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, and this is a great segue because those specials, I don't know, they always do something fun for the special, but this time going into Ncuti Gatwa, I felt like they really upped the game, and of course we have the Disney money.
Disney money.
Thanks, Daddy Disney. The queers are like so grateful for those Disney dollars, but like,
Mouse Daddy.
oh yeah,
Thank you,
Mouse
Mouse
Daddy.
Daddy.
That is now headcanon.
Mouse Daddy.
But I think talking about like the unfinished business and how it's setting up for like not a fresh start by any means,
Right.
but like he's young, he's really bringing a totally different kind of energy to the show. So I love that they're like, okay, we need to as a show also tie up some of these strings and maybe make some amends to our
Yes.
community.
Yes.
Of loyal fans, not in like a pablum or like banal fan service.
Not just fan service.
But like an actual,
Yeah.
it really,
We are so sorry about those 3 years. We are sorry about the plot lines. Here, have this. I
we
like
are
that.
so sorry with how dirty we did Donna Noble.
Yes.
They were so mean to Donna.
Right?
Donna!
Yeah. Yeah. I was so excited they brought her back and they did her right.
Yeah.
They set
And
her
Wilf.
fire.
They did Wilf right too.
Yeah.
Her grandfather. And
Yes.
I
Oh.
cried so
Oh my gosh,
hard.
yes.
Same.
Yeah.
And it was
Same.
beautiful. And I cried snotty tears for at least 3 hours after I watched the episode because I kept like replaying it, obviously,
As you do.
because they couldn't stop. I mean, it's not what I do. I'm a completionist, and I had to go through the entire realm of emotion.
No, I loved that so much. It was that time of year is a little hard for me with grief anyway. But like I had read that he passed. And I know there was like a lot of speculation. How are they going to handle this? And it was so beautiful because like I read this piece where they were like, we didn't want to kill him off in the show. We wanted him. Oh God, I'm like tearing up.
We wanted
wanted
the last
him to,
moments of Wilf on screen to be Wilf being Wilf.
Yeah, and also for him to be able to continue, like Stardust in the show, right? It's like so beautiful that his character, the actor may be not with us, but his character persists, and I just
I loved that so much.
so beautiful. Yeah.
That's one thing about the show that they do really well, I think, is paying tribute to the ones that came before. So,
Doctor Who knows how to deal with grief.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
Because
gosh.
we've been doing it for a very long time and we've had a lot of grief. The first Doctor regenerated because the actor had dementia so bad that he could not physically or mentally continue. He would forget lines all the time. But fangirls being fangirls, they went, oh, it wasn't a mistake in the script. It was a new part of original Doctor Who canon lore. Like, he messed up and he looked at Susan, first generation Doctor, first one, no one knew anything else was coming ever again. And he looked at Susan and said her actual name, not her character name of Susan, my granddaughter, called her something else, said, oh, well, you'll see me again. I don't remember you right now, but we'll come back to that.
Oh my
and then
God.
just like moved on because he had forgotten all of his lines and he'd forgotten who and where he was. That became canon of I will always come back before the writers even saw the reactions. Because that was by episode 6 or 7, I believe. It's one of the lost episodes. But because of that, the fanzines that were already in existence with the Doctor Who fan club made that canon that the Doctor could always come back, and that's why he regenerated.
I have read that William Hartnell, because not only did he have that, he also had severe arthritis that made the role physically difficult.
Yeah, he could
And
not walk up
that-
that quarry.
Talking to the producers, he had said, he suggested the idea of like, well, why don't we have him replace me? Like, he basically handpicked the second Doctor.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
I did not know that at all.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
continuity.
the second Doctor was in a lot of war movies with the first Doctor, so he already knew the guy, remembered him for years and years and years because they had worked together. They'd been together for 35 years in different movies and shows. And said, no, he's good. He's all right. He's a good replacement. He's my lieutenant. He's fine.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I like that.
What? Okay, I guess we have a new guy.
Wow. So going into the specials, like, we have this history with Doctor Who of these really like tremendous moments that are very human and very like compassionate. And we talked a little bit about how the specials were like, they were doing right by some characters. And like, we all like Donna.
We are Donna.
Donna's
That's the
a
problem.
great
We are Donna.
companion.
Best temp in Chiswick.
And it's just, we get to revisit those Tennant years and to like have some closure and have like some grace for those characters, which I thought was really beautiful. And it sets an emotional tone for going into the new Doctor, which I really love.
Yeah. Because tonally, this Doctor is very different.
Yeah.
And each of them have their own, like Eccleston's angry, you know, Matt Smith is a golden retriever. So it's like, they each kind of bring their own personalities into it, which is awesome. And what Gatwa's bringing into it has been lovely. Absolute
It's been joy.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a new, lighter, brighter kind of energy. Like, he's got such a good energy going forward with this that I really like watching it play out.
Well, one of the things I thought was nice to like of setting the stage for him is when we meet Donna now, obviously she's been through a lot and it's all been because of what happened to her during her time with the Doctor at the end. But Donna has a daughter now.
Yeah.
And her daughter's name is Rose. And we learn that Rose is trans. But they don't make it. But it was done very well and very respectfully, because quite often when there is a queer character, it's like that's their whole deal. That's their entire personality. They're just queer. That's all they are. But in this case, they make nods to it, like you find out Rose is trans because you see people that she had gone to school with like harassing him, and Donna's about to go full mama bear on them. And she has this quiet conversation. Donna has a quiet conversation with her mother, who has historically not been the best person.
Oh, God, no.
But it's clear that she is like adjusting and trying to be good and to be kind and figuring things out. And I thought it was really lovely that basically Doctor Who said trans lives are important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I felt like, because the Doctor had just had an incarnation that was a woman, there's like another special where him and Donna are walking along. And he sees somebody who's like, oh, he's nice. And then he's like, where'd that come from? Donna's like, oh, it's always really been there.
Yes.
We've always known.
Yeah.
Just because you didn't admit it doesn't mean that we didn't know.
Well, and also sort of like we were discussing in the vampire panel, how do you live for like centuries and centuries and
You're not Pan. You're
Right,
obviously
like-
Pan.
Be straight.
How can you be an alien
right also
and not
right?
be Pan?
Yeah.
How could you be Doctor
Absolutely.
Who and not explore that?
Yes.
But he's so curious. They are so curious.
Yeah.
Right?
I want to see, actually, now that you mentioned that, I want to see Riker on Doctor Who.
No. I cannot handle Jack Harkness and Riker
Yes.
in the same show.
Oh my gosh, I can't.
That is
But now
going
I
to be
want
the
it really
late night
bad.
smut version.
Yes.
And- okay, you're right. I would watch that.
Mouse
Never mind.
Daddy,
Yeah.
we would like that, please. Please, Mouse Daddy, you have the dollars.
You do.
Make this happen.
Yes.
Torchwood.
Oh.
The Star Trek
Riker years?
crossover.
The right years of Torchwood.
It can be the crossover. And I would.
No, I'm sorry. I'm just having
Thank
a
you.
moment where I'm imagining Riker like coming into Torchwood and doing the
chair.
chair.
The chair.
I mean, like, listen.
Looking around and doing that. Hi.
That slow smile.
And Jack Harkness turns around. Hi. Aaron just walks over. Hi
Yes.
there.
Okay, they don't even need to make the
I think we
episode.
just
You
did
all
it.
just saw it in
I know.
your heads.
I'm gonna do some light Googling after this and see if anyone's already done it. 'Cause
Fan fiction,
I need to
please.
explore that.
Okay, where's my AO3?
Yes, and again, we were yes.
Sorry, that's very derailed for a moment.
Okay, all of you just watched the entire episode 4 times.
That's true.
Okay, yes. Yes.
That is accurate.
So to come back to our real topic.
A little topic of when the split happened.
Mhm.
I thought the costuming choice was brilliant because they had the same exact outfit because apparently David Tennant and Ncuti Gatwa wear the same size.
Oh.
So they literally
Beautiful. Love it.
Split the
split
outfit.
the outfit
Uh-huh.
and they like rock paper scissored who gets the pants, who gets the shirt, who gets the underwear. No, you have a way better chest. I get the shirt. You can be the top. You get to be topless.
Yeah. It
That's
was
how they did it.
hilarious.
I giggled so unbelievably hard. Well, that's an interesting first look for the
Yeah.
new Doctor.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Like
And,
everything about it, right?
and it's also very funny. I think it was Kate Lethbridge Stewart who was like, "By generations a myth," and they're just like, ah. And the interesting thing that I noticed, and then I went back and I looked the episode up and skipped way ahead. Up until the point of the By Generation, David Tennant's character is in subtitles is listed as 14. Because at that point he's the 14th Doctor. And then you've had this whole time of like unfinished business. And it's like, well, the unfinished business is Donna and her family. When the By Generation happens, his subtitles say he is 10.
Yeah. 10th Doctor says blah blah blah.
And I
15th
tried,
Doctor responds.
yeah. And I was just like, this is great.
Yeah. Beautiful.
I believe that is the moment where I ran back into the workroom because my lovely wife has not seen Doctor Who.
And I was working.
So she was working and I ran back and I'm like, oh my god, this happened. And I verbally vomited everything and she just kind of went, I have no idea what you're talking about. Okay, I'm glad you're...
I'm so excited for you.
And it was...
And then she runs back in the other room and I go back to sewing.
Right.
Because, I'm working.
When I noticed it, I was watching it with my husband, and I'm like, oh my god. And he, what? I'm like, the subtitles say that he's 10. He's 10 again. And I think he backed it up so we could see it.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
And then we sat there and wondered, was this a typo? Or was this a deliberate story choice? And
According
the
to
more
Dr.
that
Davies,
I've
it was intentional.
thought about it, it was intentional. And I thought that was really beautiful.
Yeah.
According to RTD, it was absolutely intentional. I looked it up because I was like, was this the fan people who were doing the subtitles or was this intentional? Because it would be the the Icelandic Dracula all over again. Did the fans change it as canon or was this intentional? I looked it up, it's intentional.
And you brought up RPD, and he is back now. So RPD is back, thankfully. Yes,
Yay!
So we're getting him and his storylines back and everything. So that's really good. But one of the things that he's bringing in is he's still bringing in some of the themes that we had from 13, like the Doctor is adopted, and his companion is also adopted. So it's just like the found family, which I know
I
you
love
love found family.
I do love the found family.
Yeah.
But also, we've walked around this a little bit. We've touched on it a bit. But Russell T Davies, he's bringing not only these themes from 13, but also he's going back to more social commentary. And I love Doctor Who as a vehicle for talking about like real issues and like how we do not have to give up hope and how we can find a way forward as a community together. We do not have to be divided. And man, listen, right now, not just here, but everywhere, this is like such a hopeful message and like important and feels incredibly subversive. And I was just, even before we got into like what's happening right at this moment in time, and we saw the specials and we went into this first season, I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot how much I missed this kind of Doctor Who experience.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, the episode Boom, and that's probably one of my favorite episodes from this series so far, because I have two, so we'll talk about the other one in a second, but the Boom is just all about, it's the military-industrial complex, and he even says capitalism at one point, like as a, the boogeyman. And they're literally fighting a war against no one because they told them, whoever they is, that they needed to be fighting this monster, this enemy that's not really there, and it's like how much does that track with what the world is today? Is everyone's telling you there's this thing out there you should be afraid of and that you should be fighting, and there's nothing there.
Yeah. It's really fabricated.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wagging the dog.
Yeah, because war is money and business is booming. And I was like, oh, booming, he said the thing, that's the title.
Yeah. I think the other thing that struck me about that episode was that out on the battlefield they have these like medic bots.
Yeah.
And the medic bots were such like, it's literally just a flesh wound. Like,
I've cut myself worse killing a Karen.
Yeah. Right. But the like medic bot comes up and they do an assessment, and it's essentially, it's like, well, I mean, and I don't the exact dialogue because it's kind of robotic, but it boils down to, oops, sorry, you're wounded, bye.
Yeah. The profit and loss statement said that you're expendable, so get a new one.
Yeah, it's just.
Oh, so that's a minimum wage worker. Okay, good. I'm glad you said it out loud finally.
And it also goes into ableism as well, because one of the things is he's temporarily blinded. So it's like, well, you're no good to us anymore. Like this is a fatal condition, and so they terminate the life of someone who
just had a flashbang in his face.
Yes, that's it.
Who would literally just get better.
Right.
In
but
about
it's just
10
one of those things
minutes.
like, it's going to take you too long, and your life is actually not worth us saving at this point, and so they terminate them. So
Leaving an orphan.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
Yes.
Who's out there with her dad, and you get the vibe that she's out there with her dad because there's nobody to take care of her.
Yeah, and she says that. She says her mom was taken. I'm like, what do you mean taken? It's like, oh, well, she, God needed her, and so he took her.
And so when he has to go out on his patrol, basically his patrol mates keep an eye on her.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that was just like, ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the way that she gets to learn, that anyone gets to learn that their loved one is dead, is in the most corporate, awful way. Like, it is scathing, and it's not necessarily particularly subtle in its scathing critique. It's very, very
it was vicious,
ominous.
and it was beautiful, because it's exactly what happens.
Very, very forward with the position. And I like subtle social commentary for sure, but it's not always landing. And so sometimes it's like, we just need to say the quiet parts very loudly right now. And they're not shying away from that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In the episode for space babies.
Yeah.
Our very first episode of the series. It's like a little weird. It's a
fun musical.
And it's a little, I find it a little bit off-putting whenever TV and movies take babies but make it seem like they're speaking like a real person and making not a real person.
An adult person.
An adult person. Thank you. Obviously they're real people.
Our baby's real.
Sometimes birds aren't real, but its babies aren't real.
And that was kind of the point of the episode. Are babies real, or are babies a necessity for production in the future?
Ben, what you have was this really pointed commentary on some of the things surrounding reproductive health care, particularly here, but in other countries as well, where there's this space station that was set up simply so that they could, like, people would continue to have babies. Like, it was a setup where, like, if you didn't want to carry the baby, it's like, well, you know, like, extract it here and like artificial wombs. But then the people, like, if the government on the planet decided there wasn't enough money for it anymore, so they just stopped paying people to work there.
Yep.
Rather than, like, shut the program down, actually do something with these children, and, like, a computer system seemingly has been running everything, and you come to find out there's, like, one person who did not fail her moral obligation, and she stayed. And it's just like,
one good person saving a literal army of tiny people.
yeah. And I was like, I just sat there and I'm like, well, and I was like, Russell T. Davies is back.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's one of the things with the pro-birther movement here, is that they don't care after babies are born.
They don't care what happens.
You don't want to feed them, educate them.
They just have to be born.
Yeah. Yeah, so that one was very, very on the nose.
No, it's been a season of things where it's like, so you know how we've been like quietly, subtly pointing at some of these things, like leaving some little like notes for you to analyze. We feel like maybe you need
You need the brick to the head.
Right.
No, I feel like you need the picture book or the diagram with the outline. We're gonna be very
That's how I felt about Dot and Bubble.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not subtle. Like, and I usually, I don't know, I feel complicated because I feel like I'm coming from this place that sounds like I'm being very dismissive of people not being able to get subtle storytelling. But we are living in an age of very conflicting misinformation and disinformation. And, like, a lot of, like, discourse can get very thorny, and people are like, I don't know, that's so subtle, you could really read it any way. And Russell T. Davies is like, listen, I need you to not feel like there's wiggle room. And I don't know this man, and he does not know that I exist. Why would he? So, Mr. Davies, I'm not suggesting I have, like, an insight into your head, but also I feel like there's a little exasperation of like, we just want it to be clear so that people will not assume we mean anything other than what we mean.
I have watched a ridiculous amount of interviews and I've seen everything because completionist. And he said that on a BBC 4 interview. It was Radio 4. And he was doing whatever to, oh look, I'm back. And we're not going to be subtle because apparently some people can't read between the lines because they can't read the lines. I was like, I am so glad you're back, you beautiful, beautiful human.
He's
so spicy.
There was also a thing that he said, he was like, somebody told him, well, you know, there's a lot of people that are kind of uncomfortable and upset that Ncuti Gatwa, the doctor, is so emotional now. And he said, well, they're going to have a really hard time because that's not going away.
Right. The emotional depth that he has been, because he is great. But he also, especially in Dot and Bubble, or Bubble and Dot, or Dot Bubble, yeah.
Dot Bubble.
In that episode, you see the rage and just sorrow in him come out at the end, because that episode is, well, one, it's about influencers and, you know, Wall-E with all the people on their screens and stuff like that. It's that, but also at the end, it's a big commentary on racism. Yeah. Because they don't want help from him because he doesn't look like them. He's not like them. And
you're not one of us.
Right.
We will go down the death river instead of going with you to be saved because ew.
He's trying to save these people and they will not let him help
and like,
them.
yeah, Ruby finally has to say like, come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like kind of usher him back to the TARDIS.
Yeah, because he can't leave, but Ruby can drag him back and comfort him.
Yeah, and he just, it's so sad because like, yeah, you're right, we're right. He's like so much like sorrow and rage, and he just, it's like he just wants to scream at them like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
But that would also play into the trope of you're the scary black guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Which would make them run even further. So he's just kind of frozen, which I know a lot of people have that. Yeah. I am a stereotypical middle-aged white lady. I actively fight for other people because I have the privilege to do so. The doctor in the last 2 iterations has not been a straight white man. And is bringing out so many beautiful issues they're horrific issues, but the range of emotions that they're dealing with is so poignant and accurate, and portraying it in a light and fluffy. Here's the lesson you need to learn right now. And I love that, because the range of emotions in the 15th Doctor, 9th Doctor, self-hatred, remorse, rage. 10th Doctor, disassociation. Disassociation. I am not filled with grief and sadness, but here I am. And then happy golden retriever, but I will save this planet if it kills me.
Who's also dissociating, I
100%
think.
dissociating.
And in
I
denial.
think you get 2 regenerations of dissociation. If you
Yeah.
That's
Right.
right.
If you,
You
yeah,
have
like,
to.
you know, if
So then-
you're pretty sure you've managed to nuke your entire planet and another alien civilization, you
Right.
get
At least one
time.
alien
Yeah.
civilization,
Yeah.
because there was 3 at that point, because at that incident, it took out the Daleks, the Cybermen, and the original Zygons. So, but the 15th Doctor doesn't have, this is my personality. It's, I have all of the emotions in every episode, because he doesn't have to separate out the lines. Also, it is one of the first Doctors who has a range of clothing. It's a different
Yeah.
outfit in every single episode.
The fashion. I know that you
Some
also
of them
have.
have 2
I know you have-
outfits in one episode, which means you can't look at a cosplayer and say, that's the 15th Doctor, because which outfit is it?
Yeah, or, well, yes, that's for sure. But like cosplayers, friends who costume, like, I feel strongly that like if you could do some of his looks, that would be really nice.
All
Like,
in.
The nice thing is, the company that makes some of the like the sweaters and the trousers and everything, you can buy them.
And they're not that expensive.
A good friend of mine in Ireland was very excited by kind of some of the looks, because in some ways they do have kind of like a 60s kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And she was stoked because they put out a dress version of one of his sweaters, and she was able to get it.
And it's
awesome.
$95 with shipping.
I'm really excited to see a picture when she posts
Yeah.
one.
That goes back to that Disney money with
Yes.
Mouse Daddy's giving us fashion. He's giving us, and some of the guest stars, like the fact that in one episode, the Doctor actually fell in love with someone very quickly, Rogue, and it was.
I think that might be my favorite episode.
It was so good, and it was the King from Hamilton. So-
Jonathan Groff, who's
Groff,
amazing.
yeah.
And his acceptance speech and whatever at the Tonys made me so happy, because it was how Jonathan Groff, the person, comes out as queer because he wanted to see people like him. And then he's on Doctor Who, and I went, oh, that's Jonathan Groff. I've loved him since Glee. Glee was problematic. This is not. My true love is back. It was beautiful.
No, and that, you know what, is one of my favorite episodes too. And like, I am a Bridgerton girly. I love
Yes.
Bridgerton. I loved the books. I love the show more. Come for me. And not really, please, but also we can have a civil conversation about it. Probably.
No, we can't.
Well, it depends on where the other half of the conversation is going. right?
We can have a civil
Yeah,
discussion about
right.
it.
But like, I just love that we were walking into this, and there are a number of people in that episode where I'm like, oh, I love this actor, I love this actor, and
Every Regency that's ever existed. I
So
love this.
I've never watched Hamilton, so I
Me
don't
neither.
know from that, and I have watched Glee a little bit a long time ago. So I didn't know this actor from Adam. Basically, I was like, I don't know who he is, but I love him, and I'm gonna need some things in season 2. And I don't really get to call the shots, but I would like some things to happen, because I was like, no, the Doctor's finally really fallen in love with an equal who's very cheeky. Yeah, I need it.
Mouse Daddy, hear us.
Yes.
Yeah. I thought that was, and I just love the tension too. Whenever he captures him, because he thinks the Doctor is the alien he's hunting.
Yeah.
Because there's the scan and there's 2 hearts, and he's there in this thing, and he's doing and 15 is doing that thing that the doctor does of like talking really fast and really serious to try to save his ass. And it was very cool because like you see like in like a hologram thing, the different faces that he's had.
Yeah.
And finally he convinces him, and then they work together to take down the other aliens. And then the end of it has that really strong vibe. There's the phrase, "I will always find you," and depending on the context, it can be scary or it can be incredibly romantic. And I used to watch Once Upon a Time, and the two characters, like Snow and Charming, that was their thing. If they were going to be separated, it would be, "I will always find you." And that was the vibe when Jonathan Groff like shoves Ruby out of the way, jumps into the thing with the aliens after he's given the doctor this glorious kiss.
Like my toes curled.
And it's so great, and it sets up so much good stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's like, finally, the doctor gets to find love, and they're not making him fall in love with his companion.
Yes. I love
it.
that so much. It's so good.
Every time a companion had a crush on the doctor, I was like, that is an age gap I cannot deal with. Every time since I
One
was
of the
very small.
reasons I liked Martha so much is she was so independent and just
Right.
kind of.
And
so.
Oh,
I think there's a whole
Martha was done wrong.
there's a whole space we can have for a companion
Absolutely,
panel.
yeah.
We'll
That's
just-
another
We'll
panel.
just put a pin in that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Going on
and
the
like,
list.
if the Grand Orbiter hears we're doing that, they may like shove me out of the way. He's
like, I have thoughts.
Listen, she's nice. She's there every year. I'm here now. I want to talk about it.
He'll be like, listen.
He does have opinions, but we both love Donna the best. But also, he can talk a long time about Martha. So I don't know where we're at on time.
We have about
Yes.
4 minutes.
So let's take a moment to just like wrap it up by talking about like a couple of favorite moments that we had, or a favorite moment we had from this season, and like my friends, my delightful Star Wars friends who are our early morning audience. If you can't answer because you haven't watched Doctor Who yet, Hussy.
I've watched a couple of episodes.
Okay, I have given her all of the screenshots for the outfits I want her to make because I hate working with braiding and piping. But I need
like-
Maestro's outfit.
A favorite moment.
I think my favorite, as heartbreaking as it was the end of Dot Bubble,
Yeah.
where just how deep that emotion ran, and just like you could see everything he was feeling through that, and that just broke my heart. And so that emotion was just, that moment was so powerful.
Yeah.
I think my favorite moment was really just right there at the very beginning in the church on Ruby Road, where like we meet Ruby and then she's in the club, and they show this aerial shot of this shot of the dance floor from the upper level, and there's a crowd of people just joyfully like dancing, and the doctor is right in the middle of it.
Yeah, I like
Because
that.
we've never really gotten that.
So good. That's a gorgeous moment.
Yeah.
My favorite moment that broke my heart and healed it and hurt it all at the same time was, a massive spoiler, the very, very end. When the doctor, or they finally find everything, this is Ruby's birth mother. And they go and he's like, no, she's never looked for you. No.
Are you sure you want to
You
do
can't
this?
do this, she's never looked for you. And she says, yes, I still need to do this. And I'm gonna get weepy. She does it anyway. And it's so good, 'cause I'm just a person. I'm just a person who had a baby, and I didn't want to look for you, so I didn't want to screw up your life. So my birth son, who I placed for adoption 24 years ago, finally texted me back after a year on the day I watched it.
Oh gosh.
Right in the heart.
Oh man.
It was so beautiful. So I've been dealing with adoption stuff for 25 years almost. And this entire season was like, that's exactly how the birth mom, yes, an accurately portrayed adoption situation. Oh my gosh, yes. Thank you.
And it's like the season had been building up to Ruby was something.
Yeah, Ruby was something big and amazing and wonderful, and her mother was going to be a goddess.
Yeah, so to find out that her birth mom was just
Just a 15-year-old
yeah.
who didn't want to get,
that
kicked
was
out of their house.
interesting.
I thought that was great, Because for so often, it's like the woman who this, the girl who this. Like, the companion is a plot device.
Yeah.
And she was just a girl.
Yeah.
Like, I was so emotional because the Spawn had just texted me like earlier that day, and then I watched it, and I'm like, do all of my fandoms follow me secretly with cameras?
The power of fandom.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Thank you, my friends, for being on our panel. And obviously, my favorite moment is the kiss. So, whatever.
Yeah.
We do have a panel later this afternoon at 2 p.m. to talk about romance. And, like, you should come. Because
It will be awesome.
it's going to
It'll
be
be a
a
good
great conversation.
Yes.
And that's it. Have a great morning. And to our next panelists, have a great panel.
Yay. Yay.
All right, if I could have that microphone.
Thank you for listening to the Creative Play-In Podcast Network. If you enjoyed our show, please check out D&D Journey of the 5th Edition and Ragnarok Enroll a Scion Hero to Ragnarok Story. Also, check out our Patreon page for more content and behind-the-scenes things, as well as joining us for a one-shot game or two.